According to recent meta trends, there is a rise in stun decks. Go figure. And if you don't have an answer to these decks, then you're going to be in for a surprise. Your expensive meta deck is going to lose some playground cheap stuff. So today, we're going to make stun decks even better. Now today, we're going to focus on the Horus Stun deck because I've also jumped ship onto that one. I'm kind of sick of the fire deck because it's 99% solved. It's just the same decks over and over. Who has more energy to play, who paid more attention during the entire exchange, or who's waiting for the other person to slow play each other while they try to figure out everything that you can do while they play. I mean, I'm kind of sick of that, so decided to kind of jump ship onto playing stun. You know, there's a rise in stun. Some people's locals have more stun than fire, and in terms of like recent meta results when it comes to tournaments at regional level, because we don't have many YCSs right now. Regionals, we have hit top 16, top 8, top 4. I'm not sure if there's a top 2 or even a winner when it comes to a stun deck, but if there is, leave it down in the comment section. But Horus Stun has become quite popular, and if you don't address it, then you will likely lose to it. But today isn't about beating them, but about making them even stronger. So there's different techs that I see that people are trying out, and I'm going to give you guys my testing results in this one so that maybe you can apply it to the future of the Horus Stun deck. It's going to be a pretty interesting ride, so here we go. So the first card, especially for the game 1, you should be trying out this card, which is Heraldic Sky Dragon Overlord of Heliopolis. Okay, this card has won me so many games, especially on the game 1, where it's just Vanity's Ruler plus this card, and it took the entire game, especially against fire matchup. It's so hard for them to out it because they only have really one out against Vanity's Ruler, Vanity's Fiend, which is they need to negate it before they get their entire play going. Right now, currently not in the meta, there is no Book of Moon, there's no Book of Eclipse, so you don't have to worry about those cards. It's just the Imperm. And so, do you know what does this card do? This card just negates anything that targets from anywhere. You can target the graveyard, target the field, target the banish, and then this will just detach and negate and destroy. That's the point of this card. And that makes it so that they either need 2 copies of Imperm or they need Imperm plus Talents. And Talents is not a card that everyone is main decking, which makes it that much easier to take the game 1 with just a Vanity's Ruler plus this card. It's that easy. And this card's also a 3k beat stick, so you just put him in attack position, just start swinging into your opponent. This is mainly for the game 1 option, but remember, the key thing is that you just need to not turn off your Vanity's Ruler. The moment you gatekeep the Vanity's Ruler and keep the effect live, then you're in a really good spot. So this is the easy game 1. Cheese your opponents because they can't turn off your Vanity's Ruler. Next card has got to be Secret Village of the Spellcaster. This card, I sided it in as trying to even main deck this card because it's really, really good. I know what you're thinking. Well, first of all, my deck, I have MST.TV as my spellcaster, right? My opponent probably has Black Witch, Effect Veiler. They probably have, I would say, Jordan Lockbird. Those are all spellcasters. In the extra deck, they probably have 2, Hita and Dark, all spellcasters. So why bother playing this? Aren't they just get their out? But the thing is, you pair this card only when you can get MST.TV plus either a Light and Darkness Dragon or a Vanity's Fiend. Once you start cutting out the lines, they can't get to the extra deck, so their only best way to do anything is to normal summon out the Veiler or normal summon out the Jordan Lockbird. But at which point, they still can't really special summon, but they can enable their spells. Are their spells going to be useful? Most of these spells only act as monsters, so they don't really work as well. So in other words, if they put a monster up, they can't use Lightning Storm. So your monsters, basically your field is safe. Everything is kind of contradictory. So the only thing that are super effective against you would be cards like Snatch Steal, I would say Change of Heart, but probably the best card against you would be the Evenly Matched, because that's a trap card and can definitely get a full board wipe against you, where this is going to be pretty useless, but you might still be able to kind of keep your board. If they have Imperm plus Evenly, your board is going to be dead. Just accept the fact that they have the nuts. Another card you can try out is Horus the Black Flame Deity. I know it's not like those free summon Horuses, but this one provides you with an Omni Send to Grave non-target effect, which is very useful. Certain matchups like Floowandereeze, normally it's already pretty good because you have Skildred and stuff, but if you go second, you need some way to break through their board, and usually Dingirzu is one of the best monsters because your opponent usually won't activate the Floowandereeze trap until you've committed everything, and if they can't answer your King Sarcophagus, they usually wait. And so you get the opportunity to go into a Dingirzu. Dingirzu activates now. They have to activate the trap card. But even then, it doesn't even matter because you're going to send away the monsters so that they don't continue tribute summoning, because this was all part of the same chain. So the Black Flame Deity essentially kind of does the same thing as Dingirzu's effect. It's a non-target send. It's actually a pretty solid effect. But if your opponent does answer your King Sarcophagus, gets rid of it, this card itself will summon out, and then it will basically wipe out all your opponent's monsters. So there's some decent merit for running this card as a counter board wipe when your opponent tries to build the board or tries to get rid of your King Sarcophagus. It provides you with a little bit of insurance. Now, I want to answer the question, should you run Vanity's Ruler or Arc Lord Christia? So I'll tell you my experience with Arc Lord Christia. I've had the chance to mill the card into the graveyard over the Vanity's Ruler. Okay, it's really, really good. I mean, you get a free special summon blocker in the form of, Christia, and Christia is huge. But the problem with Christia becomes this: it's Flamberge Dragon. Flamberge Dragon will, if they manage to break your board and put Christia back into the graveyard, they're going to take Flamberge Dragon, put Christia into the back row, and they're going to steal the Christia over, and now your entire Horus lineup gets shut down. The key thing about the Vanity monsters that are better than the Christia is that they cannot be special summoned, so they cannot be stolen and cannot be used against you. And that's the whole point. Because if they get used against you, it really, really hurts, because you're Horus. You're not Dynastun where you just normal summon. This is Horus where you do want to spam your monsters, and that's why you have to main deck stuff like Skill Drain, so you can turn off some of your own monsters in case they do get stolen. But you're not always going to have the best combination of cards to kind of lead to that scenario where you have an out for their out. So just be very, very careful. Yeah, so if you want to play Christia, yes, you enable the Vampire Zombie to summon it out as a sacky way to get it out, but you're also at risk, okay? I'm just gonna put that out there. So finally, let's talk about sub-engines. Now, one sub-engine is going to be a Volcanic Shell. Shell plus MST.TV means that shell is going to turn into every single Horus monster. You maintain a decent hand size. 2 risk factor to this. 1, if you've tried the Volcanic Shell stuff, you put a fire in the grave, and that means your opponent can use cards like Hita to just set up their play. So that's one of the biggest risks. Second risk is you risk bricking. If you open multiple shells in your hand, it's not going to be that great, but if you have a field spell, maybe you can kind of manage it because you can throw cards away, which is why parts of the community in terms of this deck, they believe in 3 Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, because MST can throw it into the graveyard. You can use that to pay a lot of costing and switch cards around and just help maintain costs in general. So it still works out, and there's just so much discard outlet that it always works out. If you're going to be playing Volcanic Shell, I do also recommend playing like the Super Poly in the main, just because that you can toss it into the graveyard, replenish your resource, and have different ways to kind of crack the board and build the board at the same time without losing too much of your hand. And to that point, I think it's pretty fair to try that out. I think aside from that, you can also tune your extra deck to not play any links at all, and then you can put the Draglubian package. This actually came out for me once against a Raid Raptor deck, because I know how the Raid Raptor deck works, so I know that they want to blow up my entire board. So to prevent them from blowing up my board, I started basically holding onto the crossout. I know they have a negation that's live, and so if you can bait out the negation and then block them from like over summoning or force them to early summon out the big Raid Raptor, then you can just go into Numeron Dragon and summon a 35,000 attack monster, just punch them for game. It doesn't really matter at that point, does it? So these are some of the options that you can consider, because yes, this deck does have a big problem against Raid Raptor if they land their big monster, so just go figure, I suppose. That's all I got for this video. This is me experimenting with Horus. I'm going to give you guys a deck profile of this deck closer to the weekend. So guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. Hopefully, please, Konami, give us a ban list soon so we can talk about something else that's not just fire related. Maybe a damage report. Let's take a look at what Yu-Gi-Oh can become without, well, all these fire decks running around, unhinged. That's all I got for this one. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.